Hello, Amy.
Hello again.
Let's close our eyes, relax, let go of any thoughts. Just be in your space, breathing in and out, connecting with that flow of unconditional love that is all around you, inside and all around you. Allowing that flow of unconditional love to speak with you, to tune in with you, and you with it. Let's see what flows. Welcome. Let's get started. Anything flowing?
I just want to say that, when you're in this space of not allowing yourself to be affected by the judgment from others,
Mm-hmm.
I really believe it's because you're no longer judging yourself anymore.
Yes. Mm.
And there's been so many experiences within my life where I've been like, oh, God's sake, Amy, why did you do that? Why did you allow
Mm.
yourself to do that? And realizing now that I went through that because it felt right at the time.
Yep.
It felt right for me to experience certain things. And even now, I wouldn't do it where this version of myself, but it's not showing myself hate for that. It's not being like, oh, you idiot, I show myself compassion for that version of myself.
Yeah.
And it's just a powerful space to be because it's no longer reflected in your relationship with other people.
Yeah. Let's talk about that judgment because I lived many years judging.
Mm.
Um, Something else I want to say that kind of is along the same lines, but not. But I realized, and I've heard it said before, that nobody cares as much about you as you. There is not one other person, not even your mother, that thinks about you as much as you do.
Mm.
And there's nobody that's thinking about you as much as you. There's nobody putting energy into you as much as you, not even a spouse, not even a parent. Nobody puts as much thought into you as you. And that's on purpose, I'm sure. There's a reason why we mostly think about ourselves. And that's
Mm.
not a negative way. Like you could, people would say, oh, that's not, you shouldn't think about yourself, but you can't help not to. Like, that's you are your world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you are it. And I don't think it's bad that you realize that you're the only one that thinks about you the
Mm-hmm.
most. And so it's important that you have a relationship with you. That's
Mm-hmm.
good. That's beautiful. That's supportive. And the judgment is a sign that you don't love you. You don't accept you. You don't love you. That's all that judgment says. It's the relationship you have with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you usually are, well, it's the judgment is being critical of others because you're critical of yourself. So it's realizing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And also, I find when I'm around certain people, I allow my energy to go to where they're vibrating.
Yeah.
And I find myself like judging or like making an opinion for no reason at all because I'm like, oh, they're doing it, so I must do it. And then it's like we said earlier, when we put yourself into the observer space, you're like,
Mm.
there was no need for you to do that. There
Well,
was
it's
no.
natural. It's natural to
Mm,
harmonize with others, especially if you're around others. It's a
mhm,
natural thing because we want to harmonize with others. The
mhm,
issue is when we are in a good space and we come into a negative space and then we drop ourselves down. That's the issue. Like for me, I
mhm,
don't do that anymore.
mhm,
You can carry the energy in a space by not changing your energy because your higher positive self is more powerful than a
mhm,
negative self.
absolutely. But I feel like when I'm in that space and because I'm picking up on the energy, I'm like, oh, so insecurity is like a big thing. When you're not
Mhm.
secure
Mm.
in your power or not even, but just accepting who you are, that's reflected in that space, which is
Yes.
causing the insecurity being
Yes.
projected with
Yes.
criticism of others. But
Yeah.
realistically, it's all back in here. It's
Yeah.
all the insecurity that's all bouncing off the people in the room that's
Mhm.
been projected through um, a negative way of sharing opinion and gossiping or
Yeah.
not gossiping, but just yeah, gossiping actually.
Yeah, I mean that's a common thing. It's interesting because I'm aware that when people get together, what they talk about mostly is what's wrong. They
Oh.
mostly talk and share about all the things that are wrong, like what went
Mhm,
wrong, what that's common. What's
mhm,
not common is to get together with somebody and share all the wonderful things in your life. Or like, la, la, la. That's
mhm,
not common. And they say, words don't teach. Your example is what teaches. And so to be the example of how that looks is really the
mhm.
ideal.
Now that you say that, like I came home last year from my travels and everybody was telling me what was going wrong with them, what shit got turned in, right?
Hmm.
And I was not in that space at all. Like my life has been bloody wonderful. But I came home and I was trying to figure out something that went wrong because I didn't want to come across as this person who has a great life and everybody else's world is falling apart. So
Yeah,
I created a problem within my head,
yeah,
stuck to that problem, focused on that problem
yeah,
because I wanted to fit in and I
yeah,
wanted to not be seen as this cocky,
yeah,
like weirdo who's has their life all together.
yeah.
But it was crazy that I allowed myself to do that because I wanted to fit in. And now only reflecting now, I'm like, wow, because I wasn't that secure or I wasn't
Yeah,
that confident, it was like, no,
yeah,
I have to not be seen as different here,
yeah.
or I have my value is how others see me. And
It
now
is
I'm
crazy.
grateful to say that I'm not in that space. Or I might be tomorrow, but that's tomorrow.
It is interesting that so on social media people like to share their best sides. Well, good for them. They should because look at all the
Absolutely.
negativity around us.
Mhm,
If most people are in this negative fearful space and if what they want to share is what's good in their life, then that's what they should be sharing. Spread some love around. The other thing is we're making it bad that somebody is happy in life, that somebody has life that's working out for them.
mhm,
And even you saying, I didn't want to stick out like everything was all figured out. Well, nothing is ever figured out. But
mhm,
why do we have this stigma on "Oh, she can't be that happy?" I remember so Connor had a lot of nurses when he was alive, and thank God for that because it gave us somewhat of a life outside of the house. But um, one of the nurses has a daughter who was in a negative space a bit, and this nurse was trying to share about my life, because I really saw Connor as a positive in my life. I saw him as a bonus in my life, not a negative, even though sometimes it was hard, but it was hard in a good way. Like I
Mm.
needed it. I didn't need it, but it was perfect. Anyway, the nurse was trying to share with her daughter, look, you can be happy even when this is going on. But the daughter didn't believe that I could be happy. She didn't believe that nobody can do that, she said. And I remember thinking, that's really sad in our society that we don't believe somebody when they are happy, when they
Mhm.
are feeling good, when they are on a high most of the time. We don't believe it. And that really shows you where, because we're fed all the time, all the negative, and we share all the negative. But when we share the positive, it's like, who are you to say blah, blah, blah? We make it a negative. We turn it around
Mhm.
and make it a negative. It's time to change that.
Amen.
Mm. It's okay to be.
And yeah, and again, what we said earlier, it's, I think when you come to a space of realization, you realize, nah, this doesn't feel right for me to do this anymore.
Hmm.
It felt right
Hmm.
for me to do it back then, but
Hmm.
right now, it's not good anymore. And it's allowing yourself to open up to receive something new,
And
to
change.
receive
Yeah.
and change. Absolutely. And we're stuck in this, loop of what we're seeing is negative, the news, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's even now, whatever's happened, if you don't fixate on what's happening in the news, they speak. So it's a negative in the news, if, for example,
Hmm.
and I'm not entertaining that negativity, but then the people who are entertaining it is now t- putting the negativity on me because I'm not entertaining it. Like
Hmm.
you're just as bad as the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just an example of the loop that we're
Yeah.
stuck in. We're
Yeah.
seeing it, we're projecting it. We're
Yeah.
seeing it, we're projecting it.
Yeah.
But so it's breaking that. It's chopping
Yeah.
that bloody cycle in half and honoring yourself enough to be like, nah, I don't want that no more. You know?
Yeah, it no longer serves me. Now I look at
Mm,
things and I feel them. If I feel good when I see it, it serves me. If I don't
mm,
feel good when I see it, it no longer serves me. I don't have to do that. I don't have to think that way. I don't. I remember laying in bed with Patty one night and just the penny dropped on. I don't have to feel bad anymore. Like I really had a realization. I don't have to. I felt like I had to feel bad. I
mm,
don't have to feel bad anymore. Nobody told me I had to, but it's like this badge of honor you wear. Look how shitty my life is, you know? You
mhm,
don't, but that's not a badge of honor for me anymore. It doesn't make me feel good. You don't have to feel bad anymore. You can feel
mhm.
good. You can have a happy life.
And I think when people come to the realization of, it's like when I chose to surrender alcohol, it was like, all right, I'm going to try something here. And it felt wonderful to not drink anymore, right?
Mhm.
And it was, first of all, it was thinking I could do something different, that oh, this isn't serving me anymore. Just do it, try it.
Stop. Yeah.
Off the action, and I done it. And then it still feels right, so I'm still going to, be in this space, but it's not to say that I'm never going to drink again or
Mm-mm.
whatever. But for right now, this is serving me. This
Yeah.
is, and I
It
think
feels
it's
right.
just, yeah, it's that being on something for so long and only knowing that something. It's
Hmm.
like but now you're ready for change.
Yeah.
And it's just taking that step to make the change.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the heck is going to happen. You don't know the things that you're going to face, but it's to know that you are supported. You are always looked after.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you do something that feels right for you, there's always going to be people there for you, with
Yeah.
you. They mightn't agree with what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who are in that loving space are just going to be ears and allow you to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the weekend was really powerful because I know people out there, they want to, come off medication that they've been on for years because they want to try something new. They want to spice up, add a little bit of seasoning. And to be brave enough to make the step, to make the change,
Yeah.
and to know that there is powerful powerhouses behind you allowing you to take them steps.
Yeah. That's an invaluable to have support.
Mm,
More invaluable is to be in that flow and to know the support comes from the flow, because unfortunately, when you're depending on other people, people will let you down. And so
mm,
it's for me, and maybe I'm saying that because of what I've been through. Uh,
mm,
you've always had a support system. I've not. So
mm,
I've learned, and I'm grateful that I haven't, um, because it has made me, because I want to change so much, because I want to be a better version of myself so much, that I
mm,
started feeling and hearing the messages coming to me and allowing myself to be open to this energy around me. And I feel that's my support. So
mm,
people can fall out of my life or be in my life or not be in my life, but my support is always there because it's
mm,
from this energy. But I'm not saying that people's support isn't also nice.
mhm.
I
No, I
do
hear what you're saying.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what we're all looking for, is that relationship. We think it's this person,
Mm,
we think it's a substance, we think it's
mm,
a house or a car it's not any of those things. That's why when we get them, we're unsatisfied, because what we're
mm,
looking for is that relationship with the energy of this unconditional love that flows through us, is us, around us, cannot be. It's always there.
mm. I think it's your expectations though, because if you have an expectation that that person should support you
Yeah.
and then they end up don't
No.
supporting because
Yeah.
they're doing what feels right for them, then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get disharmed.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, you're not a friend or whatever you say, but you actually hurt yourself because you had those expectations in
Yes,
place.
absolutely. Good point. You bring it back to yourself. Yep,
Mhm.
for
And
sure.
also, it's that beautiful quote.
That you can't remember.
uh, I got thing. Attached to nothing, connected to everything.
What is it?
And attached to nothing, connected to everything.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
when
that's it.
you're, yeah, you're not, no, you don't own anybody. Even when you're in partnership, you're not in ownership, you're in partnership.
Yeah,
You're not, and that relationship is a reflection. Like, you're mirroring each other all the time,
yes,
or
yeah,
even mothers or fathers.
yes,
And it's what you said earlier. It's that thought back to you,
yeah,
It's everything is inside.
yeah, yeah.
And it's not being attached to that person because when they decide to leave, when that's right for them, you're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
sad. You don't
Mm-hmm.
wanna be sad.
Yeah.
So,
Let's talk about death, because that's
mm,
like the biggest fear in the whole world. Like people
mm,
fear death. And,
mm.
like I haven't died recently, so I can't speak with experience. But
A version of you has died.
yes, constantly. I'm constantly
Mhm.
changing. Who I
Mm,
was when I moved here a year ago isn't the same person. Like I'm a constant changer and I've accepted that about because that feeds me, that gives me joy to
mm,
constantly be evolving. I don't expect that of other people, but I do expect that of me because that is what gives me joy. And I don't even know if it's an expectation, it's just me. Um,
mm,
but I had to go through a period because, with Connor, for everything comes back to Connor because he was such a big lesson for me, is such a big teacher for me. But
mm,
for those 7.5 years that he was on the planet, I feared his death. I feared him leaving because he was so close to death. Like I say that laughingly, but he had a tracheotomy, he was on oxygen. If either of those two things wasn't working, the child would have died, right? So I lived for 7.5 years with a child on the brink of death. And death is the biggest fear of this world. And I worried over him. I I feared his death. And he gave me such an opportunity. You got that as well with your aunt.
mm,
Um, he gave me such a wonderful opportunity to experience and to see death in a way that isn't fearful. It isn't negative. It isn't the end
mm,
all. It's not bad. But in combination with my relationship with this energy of source, has shown me that there is nothing to fear in death. Death is
mm,
part of the human experience and is not painful, is not you gone, is not you ended. None of that's true. You continue your energy. You're just in a human form at the moment and we can see you.
mhm,
But once your transition is done, you're not, you're still there. You're not in physical
mhm,
form, but you're still there. You're
mhm,
still felt, you're still heard. It's all, and Connor was beautiful because he couldn't talk. So I
mm,
already had to feel his words. I
mhm,
already had to telepathically tune into him to
mhm,
fill his needs. And he was a happy boy. He cried rarely and he always had a reason. Um, so it wasn't like I was missing, I just thought I was tuning into my son. I really was tuning into Connor. I could hear him. I knew his desires. I knew what he wanted. So fear of death is, and interesting enough, like when you live through life and you come up against a belief that you think, oh my gosh, how would I ever even change that belief? I took it back to when I was doing this to myself, changing
mm,
beliefs that weren't serving me. I took it back to what's the worst fear? Death. Okay. Is this belief going to kill you if you're wrong or right, whichever way it was going? No, it's not going to kill me. It's just a belief. And it just minimized that belief into
mm,
like it really has no
mm,
power. Just the power I gave it is all the power it had.
mm.
Am I making any sense? Like, 'cause sometimes I'm
Absolutely, you are.
okay.
Yes. Mhm.
But death is not to be feared. And so if
Mhm,
that's the biggest fear out there, besides
mhm.
spiders and snakes and all those little things,
But you think about it, if you are fearing spider or a snake, you're fearing that they're going to eat you to death,
it's a
eat you
death.
alive. So
Exactly. Death.
everything is death. Like,
Yeah.
and it's that when Siobhan crossed over,
Hmm.
my auntie, put into
Hmm.
perspective, she was going from one place of love to another,
Hmm.
and it was hard. Not saying it was easy. It
Mm.
was emotional because you were grieving no longer being with a body, you know.
Yeah.
You were grieving to a loss of somebody in the physical form,
Yeah.
but it really allowed to connect with that feeling again, to connect to You can now allow her in, allow Connor in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that state of wanting to receive, if you're, because at the end of the day, as you said, they're always here, you know?
Yeah.
They're even, it's the minor things for, it's, if people believe it's a robin coming there, a
Yeah.
butterfly, or it's
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
picture falls from, it's
It
what, if
is.
that feels right for you to believe that that's your loved one,
Then it is.
then it is, absolutely. And it's, if people don't agree, so bloody what,
Yeah.
It's that, if that brings you joy, if that brings you peace,
Mm.
bingo, you've hit the jackpot.
Mm.
But death, I always said that I couldn't wait to die. Not in a bad way, not in a like suicidal way. It was just to experience what happens in that love and vibration.
Mm.
But now, in this version of me, this is a love and vibration. If I
Mm-hmm.
choose to see it as a love and vibration, it
Yeah.
can be hell, it can be heaven. It's
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So, by me saying that I wanted to die because I wanted to experience that love and vibration, but I can experience it in the physical form.
Yeah. We haven't even touched the ability of the human. We are
Mm,
just on, we're still in such a negative space uh globally as humans that
mhm,
we haven't touched the abilities because our abilities don't lie in the negative. The abilities a lot lie in the beliefs of yes, we can. Of the what are we evolving to? That's what our purpose is here for. We're here to be in that space of love and to flow it out uniquely within each individual. And what
mhm,
that looks like is each individual. And I see such an amazing future. We've talked about this a few times because I
mhm,
I believe when you live in heaven, when you live in a space of joy, you don't want to start over and do it again. Like, because I do believe we come back because this is the place that it's all happening. Not just this planet, but lots of planets. But in reality is where the creation's happening. And the creation is through thought in conjunction with the flow of love. And so
mhm,
together we're co-creating, and everybody is, we're all equal in that way. Nobody was given more than another. It's all up to you and how you believe. Like the future, the next frontier is the mind. It is
mhm,
realizing that the mind is what's the projection.
mhm. It's
I'm excited.
even, yeah, but I feel what you've just expressed there, like, I feel that's people you see in this generation or whatever, the older generation. No, this generation. I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's the people who are wanting to live off grid, that are
Yeah,
wanting to grow their own, live from their own, source their own water and not feel the need to be in a hierarchy. What's that word?
hierarchy, a
Thank you.
hierarchy.
Of
Uh,
society, you don't need to be better than the other person.
no.
It's
But you also don't need to hide and go off grid with it. Like you can
mm,
be in it and feel positive and know that you're the one scripting this. So you don't have to hide.
mm,
And I don't
yeah,
necessarily think that uh, going off grid, like for me, there's something about that that rings going backwards. You know
mm,
what I mean? Like I'm not
yeah,
I also would like to go off grid, but so I'm not saying this because it's not something that I wouldn't mind doing.
mm,
But there is something in it that tinges with going backwards and not progressing. And I don't know
yeah,
if that's just because I'm not there. and maybe being there will feel more forward to me. But it feels like
Mm,
at this moment for me, clearly that's not where I'm supposed to be because it doesn't feel right.
mm. I think it's just tuning back to what's valuable,
Yeah,
because we're so disconnected, as I said before, that we think these material objects are going to make us happy, but realistically, it's
yeah,
just living from the land, or it's, having that joy of knowing a tree instead of knowing
yes, yeah.
something like
I
that
get a lot
doesn't.
of joy from being with trees. I love
Mm,
trees.
amen, is there?
Oh my gosh, I love trees at the moment. Do you know the language that we use when we talk about our age? We don't say, like, I had posted this on Facebook. We should say that we're growing. So, 13 years growing is more appropriate
Mm,
than 13 years old. And I was also saying to you, like, I also like the terminology 13 years wiser because
mm,
as we grow, as we live on this planet longer, we should be wiser. I guess that wouldn't be
mm.
true for everybody, but I would
Yeah.
say you can't help but understand life as you live.
Mhm.
So changing that terminology from old to wiser or grow or something like we should speak that way, Amy.
Absolutely, but, like, it's even I, I got so triggered by somebody asking me to do a load of things, right? And I was sitting and I was like, okay." But I've just shifted my language to I get to do this for this person. I don't have to because
Hmm.
I get to feel so much more magical for me, but I
Yeah,
have to feel so sure. So as you said, it's shifting
the
your
language.
wording, your
Hmm.
language, yeah, to what feels better. I'm
Yeah.
22 years old. Boring. I'm 22 years going,
Or
it's even
22 years wise.
yeah, so let's
Yeah.
start that.
Yes, let's do.
Mhm.
Because old doesn't serve us. Old just feels
Mhm.
old. Old is,
Yeah.
let's change the vocabulary.
Mhm.
I've been
We're
thinking
gonna
about
be
that.
coming up with our own dictionary.
What'd you say?
We'll be coming up with our own dictionary for sentences.
The Amy and Edie dictionary. No, you don't say that anymore. We now say this.
Yeah.
I think really everything just comes back to choosing joy, choosing feeling good over choosing not feeling good just because it's in front of you. Whatever you believe, you're gonna see because you
Mhm.
put the energy into it. So you're always going to make yourself right. So why not believe something that serves you and gives you joy versus something that, yeah, it's there, but do you need to give it your energy? Because when you do, you're going to see it more.
Mm.
So in our dictionary, we're going to put, we're going to look at what feels right, what feels good. And you know what? It's okay if tomorrow that doesn't feel good anymore.
Mhm.
Allowing
Yeah.
yourself to change, allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to evolve.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And coming back to that power, giving ourselves the choice to feel what we want, to experience what we need to experience,
Yes.
to just simply be.
Yes. Simply be. Yes.
Mm.
Very good. Thank you, Amy, for sharing another half an hour with me.
Thank
I love
you.
you.
I love you too.
Okay. We'll see you on the flip side. Bye bye.
Bye.